if you take out a photo and you walk around with a decoration in your hand, it will show you all of them. Okay.
It's a great suggestion, and so and by the way, all of these suggestions. So Winfield has a thread on the forums for these exact kinds of things, and so what is extremely helpful is because what's really hard to do is to get a lot of this information coming in a lot of different directions, and so what is really helpful is to get all the information in one place. And so Winfield, I specifically asked Winfield to start a thread of like how we can make dynamic POTs better, and what tools and what features they need. And so putting all of that information in that thread and collecting all of these ideas into one list that I can then prioritize and get into our backlog, that would be the most helpful thing to me, by the way. We're not saying we shouldn't continue to have this conversation, but that would be the best thing, by the way. Yeah.
I love Winfield that. This year would be half or a third of what it is without him.
Right.
Okay, he's been a huge help to Zozon. He's been a huge help to Vengeance. He's been a huge help to Order of Vengeance. Everything about what I do, he's helped me directly. Hopefully everybody in this room has somehow benefited from his existence in this community. So, I mean, I love the guy to death, but I'll tell you, I actually brought a concern to him about player-owned towns, which he doesn't care about. And it never made that threat. And that concern is the fact that without a deco mode, when I'm running around Vengeance fighting people, instead of targeting them, I grab stuff. Because I stay in mouse look, it's how I like to play the game. I hate the other mode of the game. So my play style makes it almost impossible to enjoy being in a town I'm a steward of. And it affects so few people that it didn't make a threat. But I feel like it's very important feedback because when the game explodes.
But by the way, I'm going to call you out on this. So because you do this to me, which is versus posting in the thread, which is probably what you did. You did a PM to him. And so it didn't make the thread because you PM'd him instead of posting it in the thread, which is what you do to me. Which is I'll post something in the forums, and versus you reply to the thread publicly, you PM me with a reply. Like and so like for instance like the R35, like whenever I do my release notes, like versus replying to that thread like everyone else does, you PM me. And so when you say it didn't make the thread, well, it didn't make the thread because you didn't post it.
But I'll say why I do this.
Okay.
Because when I reply to you publicly, I would have 3 people every single time PM me and pull apart all my stuff and attack me personally.
What you need to do is reply to the thread.
Yeah, welcome to my world every day.
And private message Winfield. And when you don't get it in the thread, private message Winfield again.
3 of 7.
22 yet?
I believe Chaos has taken over.
Church said something that you can toggle creations in the options.
You can turn off picking stuff up.
Decoration mode you can turn off. So if you're not in the decorating mood, you can just bind that to
Order.
Okay. All right. Anyway. Okay.
which doesn't specifically address the other issue, but specifically addresses his.
By the way, there is a toggle in options to turn off
I know,
decoration.
I use it.
Okay.
It was amazing when that toggle mode got in. It's a 50% later what she's asking. But I bought, it's not female by default, but I found it period, and it saved my life.
Okay. So how does that not solve your issue about the town thing?
Why should it still be in the thread? Is 50% to exactly what she's asking.
No, but I'm talking about your thing about the town PvP thing.
No, that got solved.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I don't think
All right.
everybody realized that was.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. I thought that was still an issue. Okay. You have a question? Okay. unfortunately, every feature I have to think of the worst case scenario and the exploit, right? Because that's basically what everyone will do. And so, and having used the tools myself, I often want that myself. You know, I want to be able to zoom way farther out. But there's multiple. I mean, there's exploit issues. There's being able. There's there's collision issues associated with the camera. I mean, we want to solve it. There is a task on the backlog to try and figure it out. But doing it without exploits, doing it without the performance implications, doing it where you wouldn't be able to see off the edge of the map. I mean, there's a whole bunch of. So we want to do it. It's just a whole bunch of. Again, it's probably take about a month and a half in order for it to not to be solid enough that it wouldn't be exploitable. So that's why we haven't worked on it. So yeah.
Just kicking back to the population indicators, can you speak to how that would affect nested hills?
Well, they're not going to be visible, so.
So no. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Get a fancier Reagan.
Yeah.
More names. I get it.
We actually hadn't even thought about that. I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe. Yeah. There's a party on the boat if there's a lot of people. Yeah.
Now that I understand more about the player in towns, one of the things I've always wanted to build is a road town. And I'd be happy to buy road pavers, dirt road pavers, anything of that nature to build. I mean, when I go into like obviously a development build, I have to get the curbs, I get the pavers, and that would be really something I find valuable and I thought.
So maybe not. It's either going to be this release or next. There's going to be craftable and purchasable road pavers. So
Can it turn
yeah,
out
and so there's we took the template that was who created the template?
Yeah, we were doing a gust ball.
No, not the gust ball. The road pavers. Someone gave it. Someone in the forums created a template, and we just grabbed that. That they gave us a suggested, like here's the straights and the curves and the.
Oh yeah, it was in that thread though.
And so we just grabbed that, and I gave that to one of our artists, and they're going to work on that. So if not this release, it'll come out next release. Now,
I spent $250 on pavers.
it's only going to work just like other things. It's only going to work on flat. So unfortunately, it's not going to get you up a hill or anything like that. But
It's
at
the
least,
length of like a village line.
yeah, they're going to be really long, and so it'll help you with deco limits and things like that. So.
AMX tracks.
Yeah, and so it's gonna be curves and straights and angles and all that stuff, and again there'll be a craftable version in the game and then a purchasable version. So. Real quick.
With the going to the question of population in each town, whatever the thing is, the multi-line, are you going to take into a cognitive variant of, okay, this town has 64 lots on it, the town's been built up, they don't have people moved into it, having it possibly not necessarily a rubble, but something in like in between that you can see that, oh, this town could work on this, people in those areas.
Maybe eventually. I mean, the first iteration is really just going to be based on lots claimed. So maybe eventually we could make it more sophisticated. But I mean, there's only we're trying to keep the data points fairly simple right now. The more complicated we make it, the more data. It's going to be hard to show. We're trying to keep the visual representation on that. The icons. Those is only so big. So we want to try and keep the data points simple. We want to try and keep the visual representation simple. So it's an easy read of like there's only going to be 4 states. So.
The other question I have with the DOT in that regard is, and at the DOT, you enter it around the scene, you're not entering at the top number of the top prior is, in some of these scenes, unless you're really familiar with the snow scene or the mountain, some of the other scenes, you may
last release, there not only can you move your entry point, but you also have a placeable town crier, so both those problems are solved. So,
So you, sorry, you're gonna have the icon things, that the
Yeah.
big, on one hand there's a mouse over option for population, but maybe you just do a little like what you said, it's like population slash and such, as well, like when you enter or something, I don't know, optional, it's just used for actual numbers as opposed, this is, I
Right.
know Andrew had a question about this portion, even though there'd be 500 people in town, it would be in whatever. Just
yeah, could be, yep.
Actually, about the
Yeah.
volumes, because I didn't play with town, but I know we have the island, underground, whatever. Did anybody ever, is there a reason why there isn't a space biome, like where we start,
Oh, Island of Storms, that like that one?
that sort of thing? I mean, is that something that could be in the future? Or?
We've talked about that as an option before. In fact, some of our recent discussions have been about how we haven't built enough fantastical spaces. Like a lot of the play spaces we built so far are too normal looking. But that would be a really cool option, especially for folks who didn't get overland access, as an option because it's not on the map, it's not overland, so it's literally overland. See what I did there? Overland. Yes.
I just had a question about the customizable NPCs.
Yeah.
I know as it relates to player towns. What about just vendor? Like,
That would be
player vendor?
it's going to be the extension of
Can
that.
you, but what is the customization? Is it just the face, or is it like dressing them in?
That
stuff to
the
create?
goal is
What's the goal?
the long-term goal, and it's
What's the
how
episode
much of
one
this
goal?
makes episode 1 release, but the long-term goal is to make those NPCs fully customizable as far as like
Like
being
your
able to-
avatar is, or almost that.
maybe.
Will he be
I
able
mean,
to hold a cane and smoke a cigar while he's standing on my porch or something?
maybe eventually maybe
Well, no,
not.
I mean just have that visible.
I mean, we want to be able to.
Or a different shirt.
We even want to be able to let you like add like conversation stuff to them.
I'm
Like,
not even going to just visually, because when you're running through a town, the only thing that's visually different between
Right.
the vendors is what it says over their name. Which
Right,
is
we wanna
usually
make
like,
it-
welcome to
Yeah.
this, not what his name is.
we want to make them very visually customizable.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if it'll ever be to the level of your avatar,
Right.
but we want to make them very visually customizable.
At least they're
And we
distinguishable.
want to give you the ability to have them say different things too. How customizable that
I
is.
actually predict it will be similar to your avatar in the sense
Yeah.
of drag clothing and things on it.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, so you can craft something.
Say a cane and a pipe only because those are both left-hand items.
Well,
But,
that's how I travel to town. Is I have a cane and a pipe. So
I was thinking there are people that get really tired standing all the time. They should be able to sit.
Yeah, sure.
well, now you're talking about behaviors.
Yeah. Okay.
Lazy.
All right. Yes.
Just about using the Paxler template, I use that. It's difficult sometimes to lay out lots of things because of little imperfections in the ground. It's like a little lump here, and that blocks the whole lot. Same with pavers, you put a paver down and it'll go cut into that instead of, it doesn't go away.
Flat.
Could the hills somehow be made so like trees where like some of those get flattened when you want to put down a lot on it?
No.
No.
The terrain can't be
I'll give you
changed.
one.
Okay. Yeah,
But-
there's just areas like a little ridge here, and then now I can't put a wall around. I can't put
Just remember
houses
the
around.
Darkstarr template wasn't designed to be a, that's why there's some kid.
I mean, we did actually flatten a whole bunch of it, but now if there's specific, by the way, if there's specific places on the map that look like they should be flat and they're not, like write those up. Like literally just, I mean, like and by the way, never ever hesitate to write things up and ask us to do stuff in the forums, and whether it's in the feedback or write it up as a bug, and type site, like in this case, like do a /log and write it up and say, hey, I would like this part flat. The worst thing is we'll say no, but it's better to ask and have us say no than to just like don't ask and nothing will happen, right? And in fact, like we did this with the island template. We did a huge pass of flattening because people asked us to, right? So
I just noticed there's this.
yeah, I mean, and so if there are places in any of the town templates that you wish were flat, ask us. We may say no, but we may flatten it.
So I put that in the downtown area. I've been on the taxi center template the whole time. I've
Yeah.
loved it. But the downtown area, it's all paved out. It looks like it should all be flat. There are 3 different lumps, and since R18, I've bugged it with both forums 4 times, and I put it in feedback forum once. And I haven't got a response on any of them, and I even made a video one of the times. I think what I've done wrong with that is maybe not putting it in the POT thread.
No, part of it. Now, okay. So with that said, by the way, our QA team is way behind. And so if you didn't get a response to your bug post, that means we didn't get it into Jira. And so unfortunately, that means that you probably need to repost it. So we are incredibly behind. There are bugs that we know that have not. If you never saw a bug that you posted, if you never saw us respond and say bug entered or noticed or whatever, that means we never entered it into Jira and it's never been addressed, it's never been looked at, it's never been fixed. And so no one has seen that. So that means if you never saw your bug, if you never saw someone respond to your bug, we literally have never done anything with it, and so that means you need to post it again, unfortunately.
So is your behindness getting worse, better, and how are you solving your behindness?
So the bug brigade was an attempt to get better at that. We've also recently we've added one additional outsource QA resource. So we're trying to get ahead of it. We're still probably, I would guess, 500 or 600 bugs behind at least.
Just logging.
Oh yeah, just getting them into the system. Like, I mean, there are literally. I mean, I would guess there are probably 500 or 600 issues that you guys have reported that are not even in Jira.
Is that normal at this point?
Yeah, well, the number of issues that is normal. The fact that they're not in the system, no, because we're just understaffed there. That's
Is there QA? Is there a plan to hire more QA, outsource more QAs as you ramp up towards, Richard talked about polish being the last 20%. That's squashing the bugs, right?
yeah.
Because like we can't fix the bugs, we can only tell you that they exist.
Yeah, I mean, it
So
depends on.
you can't crowdsource the bug fixes.
Yeah, I mean, we just.
It's on you guys.
Yeah. So I want to talk briefly about renting and get to the next few slides since we're, So real quick about renting. So we want to give you guys the ability to share your property with other people and be able to enter and be able to set individual permissions in sections of your property. So, for instance, we want you to be able to say, let someone stay in a room in your house and give them permissions to that room so that they could decorate it, they could lock the door, and that's their room, and that you could charge them rent for that room, just like the taxes. And that money would then go to you as the lot owner. So that's the goal with renting. So it would work it would be a hybrid of the individual items permission system that we have. It would work kind of like that. So you'd be able to click on like a door in your house, and then be able to add someone to that door in a permissions way, but with the addition of being able to set a price associated with that.
And then with the door would control the room inside.
Yes. Yeah, and would control give them the ability to like put things on the wall, put decorations.
So you could evict, and then their stuff would just reappear back in their bank.
Yeah, and if you revoke those permissions, then their stuff would go to their bank.
Is that limited per house type, or is that planned for every house type that has more than one room?
It would work in any house that has rooms with doors in it.
Right, more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far off is it?
Probably Q1, sometime in Q1.
What about basements?
Same thing, as long as the basement had rooms with doors in them. So, but not a lot of basements.
I was
have
gonna say they
rooms.
don't have.
Yeah, so,
What about the whole basement?
so, yeah, maybe the whole basement. Maybe we can, we've talked about maybe either rebuilding some of the existing basements so that they had some subdivided rooms in them with doors to facilitate this, or making some new basements with doors in them, you know, so that would have that.
That's related to that, we were waiting on the renting. I sort of heard you answer it, but now if somebody's gonna be renting, but the rent fee associated, is that gonna be built in so I can say, you're $200 a week, 200 gold a month,
Yeah.
or whatever, and that automatically gets taken care of as long as they're paying their rent? Do we have an idea how that's actually gonna?
So we're probably going to do it similar to how we do the taxes on the property. So it'd be pay ahead of time with credit. So people would pay into it.
They don't pay, it's their own fault.
Right. Exactly.
Have to go around
Correct.
asking people to get their payments
Correct.
for the rent.
Knocking
Yeah.
on the door.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
you're there, this is-
Yeah.
Landlord
Yep.
checks the mail.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, theoretically, sure.
What about crafting doors?
What about what?
Crafting doors.
Crafting doors?
Put our own doors.
Could you
Like
put
for
your
stuff.
own doors in?
Or ornate doors, like.
Yeah, we got like, for
Windows.
example, on Barron's Beach, Enosa has subdivided his house into little pieces for renting purposes. And we actually use the wooden wall as a fake door. But if we could actually craft a door and set permissions on that door, that would accomplish a very similar thing.
The problem with that is because we wanted to also control deco layers too, that means it has to be done on the mesh level of the building, and having that, so it would be a lot more complicated if that was happening dynamically with things like room dividers and doors and stuff, so I mean, maybe on a very long-term basis, we might be able to do that, but that would be a lot more complicated, like crazy complicated. Like, I'm not even sure how we would do that, but that would be, I don't know.
And just because the renting comes in officially doesn't mean they can't.
Just we have to recreate a tavern with just a bunch of rooms.
Yeah, I don't know how we, yeah, maybe, but not hard quick. Yes. He put a bug in the other day for us to fix that.
Work on window shutters?
Yeah.
So I think perhaps the solution would be renting the same space or rent the house to multiple people, but when they place their objects down, it's still owned by them.
Well, so there's another thing that we want to fix in the backlog anyway with shared spaces, so that if multiple people are putting things in like vendors or containers or in houses, if anything changes, everything goes to everybody's separate banks. So that's a fix we want to make anyway. So does that answer?
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Roper.
Just as an idea, with the door, with us putting a door in the area, and we're gonna wanna make that this open thing, could it not be like, for example, the door has like a rug amount of space, and everything that's on that rug amount of space is defined by the control of that door? And then someone could put walls around or not walls around, and that defined space, that door, encompasses, it'd be like, it would be in the door, but it'd have the floor plan of a rug underneath it, you won't see the rug, but anything on that floor print would be assigned to that door. So that key lock where you could actually create a bank with that system as well. But it's all doors, everything behind it is that person's storage area, and it would be not on your level that you're saying would be more distributed.
Yeah, I mean that could be a way to implement it. leveraging systems we already have, but yes, that could be a way to implement it. Yeah, I mean, again, that's a different, newer piece of tech than the way we're currently going to build it leverages a lot of existing tech that we already have, and so it's going to be fairly easy and quick. That's a cool idea of how we can implement the thing that they're wanting. So yeah, Joe.
Permission system.
Yeah.
You guys are planning on doing town-type housing like you're doing guild housing, right?
What do you mean?
So, I'll tell you my exact question and then I'll explain why I'm asking it.
Okay.
Generating permissions to where they actually properly override each other. Is that something we can see happen? So, now why I'm asking it. If you have a guild house and you give somebody permission on the sign, that is now property, and then you have the owner. Okay, so you can't set another owner, you can't set a co-owner. An owner is always above the co-owner. Now, you can also set members of the house, kindred of the house, right? And guests of the house. Now your guild, you market a guild chapter house, some of those identical things get populated. But which list wins? Now you guys are talking about having civic housing to where you would do the same thing as guilds. So where there's a town that 5 different guilds come together in and they want to have like an embassy type house, yeah, we can layer the same thing in. And you guys are talking about possibly doing that with the alliance housing. So the town can become an alliance and you can have all the different guilds within it, just be part of that alliance. So who wins in that permission system? And the bug that is existing in the game right now that I see blowing up is if you have two different people that have independent private storage, but they both have the same access level on the house. If they mark their storage private, all they have to do is remove the box, and it marks it private to the new person they can now get into. So you have a very, very wary group of people that are willing to trust who's on the entire list. And as that list grows, without having a hierarchy to say my personal permissions outweigh the guild permissions, outweigh the alliance permissions, you know what I'm saying? Without the hierarchy, there could be a squared issue here. So is it possible, go back to the original question, is it possible to layer permissions with a proper override to say this one overwrites that one?
Yes. So I mean, it sounds like there's buried in all that. It sounds like a bug that there's a bug somewhere in the system, right?
Yes, it's not really a bug because it's working how it was designed.
Okay.
Somebody that has trustee permission can move somebody else that has trustee permission because you've marked that item as trustee permission. The problem is the private flag that's set by an individual doesn't stop that move from happening. And once you're reported to say it's working as designed.
Okay.
I want over the
Trustee marks something private, the other trustee.
even more of an issue than that. If he's so you create a castle, it's Darkstar's castle, and you set all the Chaos and War people to be trustees of your house, and you say, Chaos, have fun, okay? I can now go in, and if somebody is a trustee, I can now go in and move their private box, and now it's mine. Is that the way that you want the permission system
I can
working?
take all his stuff, and now it's mine. You can't be on it, right? And that's it, the response is working as intended.
Because
Truth virtue, nobody used that to steal from people.
What town you live in again?
right. Because right now the system doesn't allow for the individual to place something within the greater space as their own.
Yeah, so everything is essentially
Everything is
shared
shared.
master priority list as opposed to having the
Individuals.
players, like if you think of a permission folder in Windows,
Right.
the
the same private items again.
Permissions, sure, absolutely.
You said something.
You were, once I place the box and you evict me from the house, it comes back to me, that fixes it.
You said something private, it just doesn't change privilege.
We can, so to short, yes, we can revisit that conversation. Sure. Okay. All right.
What's slide
One
three
last
look
thing,
like?
and then we're
Yeah,
gonna move
slide
on.
3, right? Are we at it?
You had a question?
Yeah, speaking of boxes, personal boxes, I started thinking about, like, Real Genius, you ever see that with Chris Knight and Bitch or whatever, these guys live in their closet. So, that you have a basement, we have rooms, but what if, doing a play off of like Doctor Who, you have a box that's like a closet that bigger on the inside. It's just one thing, but they can actually live in this little like virtual closet that you can
That's your basement.
That's not the basement.
So
But if you evict them, you evict the whole thing that goes into the basement. Or in their bank account, and they can have this little tiny little room inside. Closet. I mean, yeah, instance, but it's living in their house. Say the house doesn't have any rooms, you can actually get this
Multiple basement
like
hatches.
police box thing that goes in there. That they can live in this closet.
He's pretty clear on that everything needs to sort of be in a believable physical space, and so that wouldn't fly with his level of immersion requirements. So having a
Narnia.
space that's bigger than what it looks like on the outside.
Well, like instead of having a basement, whatever, magic mirror, like Mitch and Chris Knight,
TARDIS. It's the TARDIS.
Actually, what I'm against is having a shell of a house you can't see into, and you teleport in the front door, and you find you're disembodied at another level.
That's what this would be.
Yeah.
But I actually don't have a problem with saying you have a secret door that is a closet door, like there is a basement door on the floor with a wall-based basement entrance.
That's not what this is. This is not that. This is different than that.
But he's right, that I want the main world to feel very contiguous.
Yeah. All right, moving on. So, I just want to give a few more examples of things that have been led by the community, requested by the community. So we have banners in the control points that indicate. So players asked, well, like, hey, can we have these too? These are kind of infamous though, because people use them as neon signs. But their intention was that people can use them for